You're watching E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Share and subscribe.
Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video, we're going to do a Patreon Patreon subscriber request. This one comes from Chris Roberts, and he asked, given that other monsters will be in the movie, and the location of other classified sites on the Monarch Science website throughout the world, whether original creatures or from the Toho lineup, what other monsters do you think will appear, and do you think they'll have any effect on the overall story beyond being fodder? Thank you. So this has been a big topic of conversation. I mean, even talked about this briefly on my last video, or depending on what I put it up, it might be the video after this. But yeah, I think... I don't think they're going to be Toho monsters. I don't think they're going to play a role in the story. You have 4 monsters. There's going to have to be some explanation about these monsters a little bit. Now, I don't think the explanation regarding like Mothra and Ghidorah and Rodan, I don't think it's going to be extensive. I think that's one of the reasons why we got all the information we did on the Monarch website. But I do think they're going to also leverage that to give a little bit more detail into their backstory. So even if they do it briefly in the movie, you're still doing it for 3 other monsters, and then there's a little bit of catch up with Godzilla. You know, he is a little bit bigger. There is differences in his look. Is that something they're going to explain? You know, are they going to explain his relationship with these other monsters? Have they met before? Is there any evidence that they've clashed before? Obviously, there is some evidence with Godzilla and Ghidorah, but in terms of the other 2 monsters and all of them together at the same time, you know, the cave paintings are a little bit not as direct with that as they are with the shot of Godzilla and Ghidorah. And even then, the cave painting of Godzilla and Ghidorah just can be a representation of maybe those ancient tribes hoping that those 2 would clash in the event that Godzilla could defeat Ghidorah. You know, stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff we're going to get answered in the movie. So when you take all that into consideration, that doesn't leave a whole lot of room to cover a large amount of other monsters in the movie. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but one of my other videos discusses just exactly the amount of monsters that are going to be in this movie. If you haven't seen it already, or if it's not up yet, that's coming up, or it's in the video prior to this. It all depends how I shuffle this once I'm done. So yeah, I don't think they're going to be a big role. Now, in terms of being fodder in the sense that they may not have any story, I don't know if we're going to necessarily see them in battle. You know, that's a big throwdown. That's a lot of monsters on screen at once. 7, you know, what is it? Godzilla, yeah. So, I mean, when you consider that Mike Doherty said a lot of monsters, and a lot of monsters tells me like not an additional 2 or 3, you know, a lot more than that. And yeah, I don't think they're gonna be anything big in terms of story wise. I think it'll be a nice little treat, nice little eye candy. You know, if they're Toho monsters, that's a lot of investment. You know, giving over to Toho to take their monsters and only put them in a movie for maybe a couple of minutes to give them a little cameo. And that also would tell me that if they do that, that's kind of like a final hurrah. Like, we're not getting any more movies once Kong and Godzilla are done. So yeah, at least we're not going to get it. You know, a lot of people are speculating if that happens, then Kong will take over the reins for the MonsterVerse, which makes sense because it is an American monster. And then you could always bring Godzilla back later into the fold if Toho decides their universe of movies is not doing well, so they want more finances from selling their rights to the United States. So yeah, I don't think they're going to be anything big in terms of story, even in terms of fighting. I just think it'll be a scene where like they're talking about the Titans and, you know, they're all starting to awaken around the world, and you kind of see them coming and rising, but you don't necessarily see them getting involved in anything big. So yeah. So I don't think so. I don't think they will play a huge role. And in terms of what kind of monsters we might see, If they're original creations, I think you'll get very Muto-related monsters. You might see, the 8-legged monsters from the concept trailer. They might bring him because they don't. There's no rule that necessarily says that they have to all be original from the ground up creations. From the first movie, they had a lot of concept that was unused. They could easily go back and just use that, So you might see monsters that are very Muto-esque. They have features similar to the first two Mutos without looking exactly like them. You might see something similar or exactly like what we saw in the Godzilla concept trailer, with the 8-legged monster laying there in the middle of the city. So, and I think that's what you're gonna get. And then of course you'll get newer versions. They're not all gonna look like Muto. You might see different. You might see monsters that try to borrow some of the looks from the Toho universe without directly copying or doing any copyright infringement. Like for example, you might see an Anguirus. You might see a monster that looks like Anguirus, but there's enough detail there's enough detail there to make it look like Anguirus, but not to the point where it's it's infringing on any copyright issues. So that's where I think they're gonna go with that. I think you'll have some original designs that were never used. You might have a couple of brand new designs from the ground up, and you might even have a monster or two that looks like some monsters from the Toho universe that maybe fell short of making it over to the Monsterverse. And I think Anguirus is one of them. It wouldn't surprise me if you see a monster on all fours with spikes, but maybe some subtle differences that make it look like it's not necessarily Anguirus, but you can be like, oh, that might be Anguirus, or that could be Anguirus. We don't have a name or anything. We can't necessarily say it's Anguirus, but the design is deliberate enough to tell you that it could be without infringing on any copyright issues. So that's it, Chris. I mean, that's the best way I can answer that question. I think a lot of people are kind of going down that route. Of course, there are some fans who are completely convinced that they're going to be Toho monsters, which I wouldn't. There's just not enough information out there right now to suggest that. We might get some trailers in the future that show us one or two of these extra monsters to give us a little sneak peek into what they look like, and then at that point we'll be able to deduce. We'll be able to deduce whether or not they're Toho monsters or original creations. But if I was a betting man, I would say original creations with some unused content from the first movie in a way to save a little bit of cost on the budget, save a little bit of time on design. So this has been done in many other movies. The Transformers are notorious for this. If you go through every Transformers movie, especially movies like Dark of the Moon and stuff like that, you've seen scenes where there's Transformers all over the place, but none of those Transformers play any role in the main movie. And obviously there's a design team that created the look of these other Transformers. So, this may be a similar situation, So that's it. That's it. And I hope I answered your question. For anybody else out there who are Patreon members, if you want a video request, leave it on the Patreon page. In the section, I have it listed. Godzilla King of the Monsters video requests. Otherwise, I will be soon moving on to channel subscribers and viewers who have requests. If you want, you can leave them in this comment section. And if there's no more requests from Patreon members, then I'll start to focus on people in the comment section who would like to request a video. So anyway, guys, that's it for this video. This is Rob signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching E.T.N. Click here to watch more content. Or you can click here to become an E.T.N. patron. Don't forget to leave a comment. Also, make sure you like and share this video. If you want to know when the next video is up, click the notification bell next to the subscribe button. And most of all, make sure to click that subscribe button for regular content.